Tonight, hearts are shattered, trust is broken, and the hip-hop world is reeling from an explosive revelation that nobody saw coming. Just days after Chrissy stunned everyone with her shocking confession, fans are glued to their screens again, as Jim Jones faces yet another devastating blow, this time involving Camron, his closest friend, and Chrissy herself, in a secret meeting that was never meant to be discovered. Chrissy and Camron's private conversation has surfaced, leaving Jim absolutely crushed. The leaked details are beyond belief, exposing hidden truths, emotional betrayals, and accusations flying like wildfire. Fans are shocked, the family is left divided, and now everyone is asking the same heart-wrenching question: can Jim ever recover from this ultimate betrayal? As messages flood social media, emotions run high, and rumors swirl faster than ever before. Leaked photos, cryptic messages, and now this secret meeting. What exactly did Chrissy reveal to Camron? And why is Jim left in disbelief and heartbreak? Tonight, we're diving deep into the shocking details, the heated confrontations, and the painful aftermath that's tearing friendships apart. Buckle up, because the truth that's about to unfold will shake the entire Dipset family to its core. You won't believe what happens next. Jim Jones sat alone in his dimly lit apartment, the glow of his phone screen casting shadows across his tense face. He scrolled through endless notifications, each one sharper than the last, twisting the knife deeper into his heart. The news of Camron and Chrissy's secret meeting had exploded online, leaving him numb, betrayed, and unable to breathe. Messages flashed rapidly, friends asking questions, fans demanding answers, strangers passing judgment. His world had turned upside down in an instant, and now every painful truth was public knowledge. He tossed the phone onto the table with frustration running his hands over his face, overwhelmed by disbelief and confusion. Meanwhile, across town, Camron paced restlessly around his studio, his face etched with worry. His closest friends were gathered around, each of them desperate for answers. How could you meet with Chrissy behind Jim's back? One friend asked cautiously, his voice tight with tension. Camron shook his head, visibly agitated. It wasn't like that. Chrissy said she had something important to discuss. Never expected things to go this far, he insisted, frustration rising in his tone. You gotta clear this up, Cam, another friend chimed in. Jim deserves an explanation. Hell, everyone deserves an explanation. Camron knew they were right. He had underestimated the fallout, never expecting this meeting to spark such a massive backlash. Chrissy had reached out to him, claiming she had information about someone sabotaging the crew. At first, he had hesitated, reluctant to meet without Jim's knowledge, but curiosity and concern had won him over. He had trusted Chrissy, thinking the conversation was harmless. But now it seemed the damage was irreparable. Chrissy, equally tormented by the scandal, found herself trapped in her own emotional turmoil. She stood in her living room, hands trembling. As she dialed Jim's number repeatedly, each call went unanswered, each silence piercing her heart deeper. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered to herself, "Please pick up, Jim. Please let me explain." She paced anxiously, reliving every word exchanged during that ill-fated meeting, desperately searching for where it all went wrong. Her phone buzzed again, another barrage of angry comments online. Fans labeling her a traitor, a manipulator, someone who had broken the bonds of family. Back at Jim's apartment, anger and pain surged through him in waves. The betrayal felt raw and fresh, like an open wound. Chrissy had always been his rock, the one person he trusted implicitly, and Camron was like a brother. The idea of them sharing secrets without him left a bitter taste in his mouth. His phone buzzed incessantly, the screen lighting up with another unknown number. Jim hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen, before finally giving in. "Who is this?" His voice was barely more than a growl. The voice on the other end was calm, but tinged with malice. Do you think you know everything, Jim? Think again. Chrissy and Cameron's little talk was just the beginning. Watch your back. The call ended abruptly, leaving Jim staring at the silent phone, his pulse racing. Meanwhile, the internet was ablaze with speculation. Fans are shocked. Headlines screamed, alongside cryptic tweets and screenshots of leaked conversations. Everyone had a theory, each more scandalous than the last. Old photos resurfaced, analyzed frame by frame for clues. Fans dissected every word, every facial expression, determined to uncover hidden truths. Rumors of past betrayals and secret relationships spread like wildfire, turning Jim's private anguish into public spectacle. Camron, desperate to clear his name, decided he needed to face Jim directly. He grabbed his keys, determination overshadowing anxiety. I gotta see him. He deserves the truth straight from me, he told his friends as he rushed out the door. The drive across the city felt endless, his mind spinning with thoughts about what he would say, how he could possibly mend the shattered trust. As he approached Jim's building, he noticed reporters already gathered outside. Cameras poised, waiting to capture every dramatic moment. Ignoring their shouts, Camron pushed through the crowd, knocking firmly on Jim's door. The silence that followed felt deafening, each second stretching painfully. Finally, the door swung open, revealing Jim's tired, wary face. "You got some nerve showing up here?" Jim muttered bitterly. Camron held his hands up, showing vulnerability. "I had to come. You deserve the truth. Nothing happened behind your back, not like they're making it seem. Chrissy had information about someone trying to sabotage us. That's all it was." Jim's jaw tightened, his anger barely controlled. "And you couldn't tell me. You had to sneak around with my girl," he snapped. Camron shook his head urgently. "It wasn't sneaking around, man. Was supposed to protect all of us. She was trying to look out for us. Swear to you, Jim, there's nothing more to it." Their voices rose, drawing the attention of neighbors and press lurking outside. "You destroyed my trust," Jim hissed. "Everybody's watching us fall apart, and you handed them the ammo." Camron stepped closer, his voice lower, almost pleading. "That was never the intention. I messed up. I get it. But don't let them win. We're stronger than this." Jim stared at him, conflict emotions battling within. "Right now, I don't know who to believe. You, Chrissy, everyone, it's all blurred." Meanwhile, Chrissy watched from afar, alerted by friends who sent live updates from outside Jim's apartment. Anxiety gripped her heart as images flooded her screen. She couldn't bear seeing Jim's pain, knowing she played a role in causing it. Determination replaced her fear as she made a decision. She would face the storm head-on. Grabbing her keys, she headed toward Jim's apartment, ready to confront the truth alongside Camron. Despite knowing the backlash could intensify, as Chrissy arrived, the crowd erupted with chaos. Cameras flashed, voices shouted questions, accusations flew. Chrissy pushed through, meeting Jim and Camron's surprised faces at the door. "I need you both to hear me," she pleaded softly, eyes wet with tears. Jim hesitated, but eventually stepped aside, letting her in. Once the door closed behind them, the three stood in tense silence. Chrissy spoke first, voice shaking but firm. "I never wanted this. Meeting with Cam was about protecting you, Jim, protecting us all. There's someone out there playing us, someone who wants us at each other's throats." Jim listened quietly, his face unreadable. Camron nodded, adding, "She's right. This isn't about us. Someone's pulling strings, making sure we tear each other apart." Jim exhaled deeply, visibly drained by the relentless drama. "Then we find out who it is," he finally said, determination seeping back into his voice. "No more secrets. No more meetings behind backs. We're gonna get through this. We gotta stand together." For the first time since the chaos began, hope flickered briefly in the room, just as they prepared to confront the public and clear their names. Another notification pinged on Jim's phone, a message that promised more explosive revelations, threatening to unravel everything they had begun to rebuild. The three exchanged tense glances. Realizing the battle was far from over, Jim stared down at his phone, heart pounding as he read the threatening words flashing across the screen. "You think it's over? It's just begun. The world hasn't seen half of what I've got on all three of you." The tension in the room skyrocketed instantly. Chrissy covered her mouth, eyes wide with dread. Camron clenched his jaw, visibly struggling to control his anger. "Who is doing this?" Chrissy whispered, her voice breaking under the weight of constant scrutiny. "We can't let them win. Whoever it is, they want us divided, and we're playing right into their hands." Camron paced the room, frustration radiating off him. "I'm tired of these games. We need answers fast." Jim looked between them, still skeptical, but something deep inside pushed him toward unity, despite his hurt. "So what do we do? Wait until another scandal drops. We have to figure out who's behind this." The three exchanged a meaningful look, a silent agreement forming between them for now. They'd put aside personal grudges and confront this invisible enemy together. Chrissy hesitated, then spoke softly. "There's one person who might know something, someone who's been quiet for too long." Camron's eyes narrowed, suspicion creeping in. "Who?" "Yandy," Chrissy admitted, her voice barely audible. "She always knows more than she lets on. She hears everything." Jim sighed heavily, knowing the suggestion came with baggage. His relationship with Yandy had always been complicated, riddled with mistrust and lingering resentments. Yet now, facing a crisis, he knew they couldn't afford to leave any stone unturned. "Fine," Jim said reluctantly, nodding toward Camron. "Let's pay her a visit." Tonight, within the hour, they were speeding across town, the city's lights blurring past the windows. No one spoke, each lost in their own thoughts, fears about what they'd find looming in their minds. Jim clenched the steering wheel tightly. 1,000 scenarios playing out, none of them good. Arriving at Yandy's upscale apartment building, tension thickened in the air. Jim hesitated before knocking, memories flooding back. Moments later, the door swung open. Yandy stood there, eyebrows raised, clearly surprised. "Jim, Cam, Chrissy, what's going on?" "We need to talk," Jim said bluntly, stepping forward. "Someone's playing games with our lives, and we think you might have some answers." Yandy glanced between the three nervously, clearly caught off guard. "Come in," she finally said, ushering them inside cautiously. Once seated, Jim wasted no time. "Look, Yandy, we're all caught in this mess. Someone leaked Chrissy and Cam's conversation, and now they're threatening more. We need your help. Have you heard anything?" Yandy shifted uneasily, her expression turning guarded. "Honestly, Jim, I don't know. I've been out of your circle for a reason." Camron leaned forward, voice low and tense. "You always had connections?" "Yandy, just give us something, anything." Yandy sighed, then reluctantly admitted, "There's been whispers. People talking about someone paying big money to stir trouble inside your camp? Someone powerful who wants Dipset destroyed?" Chrissy shuddered visibly. Why would someone go that far? What do they gain? Yandy met Chrissy's eyes, serious. Revenge, control, or maybe just chaos, whoever it is. They know exactly how to manipulate public opinion. Jim rubbed his temples, exhausted by the constant attacks. Names, Yandy. We need names. Yandy hesitated again, fear flickering across her face. There's only one name I keep hearing, Rico. You know who I'm talking about? Jim's jaw tightened instantly. Rico had been a shadow from his past arrival who never forgave Dipset for overshadowing him. Rico, Jim echoed, bitterness sharp in his voice. Why didn't we see it sooner? Camron frowned deeply. Rico's been quiet for years. Why resurface now? Yandy shrugged helplessly. Maybe he sees this as his last chance. He's always hated you guys. Blamed you for everything that went wrong in his career. Chrissy shook her head in disbelief. But how does Rico have enough reach to do all this? It's too coordinated. Yandy's voice turned dark. He's not alone. Rico's got connections, now dangerous ones. I'm hearing he's linked up with someone high up, someone who benefits from your downfall. The room fell silent, dread hanging thickly in the air. The implications were chilling. Someone powerful, someone connected enough to pull strings behind the scenes. Jim rose suddenly, restless and angry. We gotta confront Rico directly. No more running, no more hiding. Camron stood with him, determined. Agreed. We need to end this before it destroys everything we've built. Chrissy looked between them anxiously. Could be dangerous. Rico clearly doesn't care about collateral damage. Jim's gaze softened momentarily as he looked at Chrissy. We have no choice. We face it now, or we watch our lives keep falling apart. Before leaving, Jim turned to Yandy. Gratitude mixed with lingering suspicion. Thanks for telling us. Watch your back. Rico isn't playing around. The trio left Yandy's apartment, determination mingled with unease. In the car, Jim clenched the steering wheel tighter than before. We confront Rico tonight. No delays, no distractions. Chrissy nodded silently, fear clearly written on her. Face Camron stared straight ahead, tension radiating from him. If Rico's really behind all this, it ends tonight. Meanwhile, across town, Rico lounged in a darkened club, surrounded by his entourage. His phone buzzed repeatedly, messages of panic and warning pouring in. He smiled coldly, enjoying the chaos he'd created. A friend leaned in, concern evident. Rico, they're on to you. You sure you want to keep pushing? Rico laughed bitterly, swirling his drink. Let them come. They've got no idea how deep this goes. Back in Jim's car, Camron broke the tense silence. Rico's always been reckless. But this feels calculated. Someone else is helping him? Chrissy glanced nervously between the two. What if it's a trap? Jim took a steady breath, eyes fixed. Ahead, we'll deal with whatever comes. We've handled worse. The city streets flashed by in a blur of neon and shadows as they approached Rico's known hangout. Jim parked discreetly, the trio stepping out cautiously. As they moved closer, tension mounted rapidly. Security at the door eyed them suspiciously, but a nod from inside cleared the path. Jim pushed open the door, stepping into the dimly lit club. Music pulsed loudly, but their focus was singular, finding Rico. Rico spotted them instantly, his face lighting with arrogant amusement. Well, look who finally showed up, he taunted loudly. I've been expecting you. Jim stepped forward, his voice deadly calm despite internal rage. She wanted our Camron's fists tightened, anger blazing in his eyes. Enough games, Rico. Who's behind you? Who's pulling your strings? Rico laughed darkly, completely unfazed. You think I'm afraid of you? The people backing me have more power than you'll ever know. You're just pawns in their game. Chrissy stepped forward, determination shining despite her fear. Why us? Why now? Rico sneered, leaning closer. Because destroying Dipset sends a message. Loyalty means nothing. Friendship means nothing. You built your empire on trust, and now that's exactly what's gonna tear you apart. Jim felt rage surging, barely controlling himself. Give us a name, Rico, or you'll regret it. Rico leaned back casually, eyes glittering with contempt. I suggest you check your inner circle. Betrayal always comes from within. His words hung heavily in the air, immediately sowing doubt. Jim glanced at Camron and Chrissy, suspicion flickering briefly, quickly masked by guilt. He shook his head, refusing to fall into the trap. We won't let you turn us against each other? Rico shrugged carelessly. It's already happening. You just refuse to see it. Camron moved toward Rico aggressively, barely restrained by Chrissy's pleading look. He's playing us, Cam. Don't let him win. Rico's entourage stood. Defensively, tension escalating dangerously. Jim grabbed Cam's arm firmly. "He's not worth it. We gotta go." Reluctantly, Cam stepped back. Rico called after them, mockingly. "Run away, but you can't escape what's coming." Outside the club, the trio stood silent, processing the chilling. "Mornings." Chrissy finally broke the silence, voice shaken. "You think Rico's right? Could someone in our circle really betray us?" Jim exhaled heavily. "I don't know what to believe. But we have to be careful. Whoever called me, they know too much." Camron's face darkened with suspicion. "Rico's playing mind games, but maybe he's telling partial truths. We need to watch everyone close to us." Meanwhile, news spread. Rapidly online, Jim Jones confronts Rico's shocking showdown. Headlines screamed. Fans speculated wildly about Rico's cryptic warnings, creating theories about a traitor among Dipset. Social media flooded with hashtags like #Who's the traitor and #DIPS. #betrayal.beck at Jim's apartment. Tension lingered heavily. Trust had become a rare commodity. Chrissy sat quietly, lost in thought, while Jim paced anxiously. Camron tried reaching out to their inner circle, discreetly probing for anything suspicious. Suddenly, Jim's phone rang again, this time from Yandy. He hesitated briefly before answering. Her voice was frantic. "Jim, listen, Rico's planning something huge. Just heard through someone close to him. He wants to destroy Dipset tonight." Oh. Jim felt a chill run down his spine. "Tonight? How?" Yandy's voice trembled. "He's leaking more secrets. Photos, conversations. He's been collecting dirt for months. Whoever's behind him gave him the resources. It's got enough to finish all three of you." Jim sank onto the couch, overwhelmed. "Yandy, you have to help us stop him. Do you know exactly what he's got?" Yandy paused, clearly conflicted. "There's something," began audio recording. "Rico says it's enough to make sure none of you ever speak again." Jim's pulse quickened with dread. Audio of what? Yandy hesitated, guilt evident in her voice. "Jim, it involves you directly. It's something you never knew was recorded, an argument you had years ago. Rico claims it'll prove you're a fraud, that you've been lying to your fans." Jim's face paled, memories rushing back. He remembered that night, a heated, emotional fight that he'd always regretted. If that got out, it could end him. Chrissy noticed Jim's distress instantly. "Jim, what is it? Talk to us." Double quotes. Jim took a shaky breath, voice barely steady. "Rico has an old recording, something I said years ago. Something I thought stayed private." Camron frowned deeply. "How bad is it?" Jim hesitated, ashamed. "Bad enough to destroy me. It's personal. Something I regret deeply." Chrissy touched his shoulder gently, supportive despite her fear. "Then we get ahead of it. You tell your truth before Rico twists it." Cam nodded firmly. "Exactly. We won't let Rico control your narrative." Jim hesitated, fighting internal doubt. "If this gets out, fans will turn on me. Everything we've built gone." Camron shook his head, determined. "Our fans respect honesty. We face this head on." Meanwhile, Rico prepared to release the recording online, savoring every moment. "Time to end Jim Jones," he whispered cruelly, hitting upload without hesitation. Minutes later, social media exploded. The recording spread rapidly, Jim's heated voice, years younger, saying things that directly contradicted his public image. Fans were shocked. Betrayal trended instantly, comments flooding. "Jim lied to us. How can we trust him now? Dipset is finished." Jim watched helplessly as his reputation crumbled. Chrissy tried comforting him, but his devastation was palpable. "I destroyed everything," he whispered, defeated. Camron stood abruptly, determined to fight back. "We're not letting Rico win. It's time we address this directly. No hiding." Jim nodded reluctantly, knowing Cam was right. Chrissy took his hand firmly. Your fans will forgive honesty. Trust them like they've trusted you. They quickly set up a live stream, preparing to confront the crisis head-on. Thousands tuned in instantly, desperate for answers. Jim faced the camera directly, vulnerability clear. Tonight, Rico leaked a conversation from years ago. I regret every word. I made mistakes. I was angry, reckless, immature, but that's not who I am now. I'm asking you, my fans, for forgiveness and trust. Fans watched silently, comments shifting tone as Jim's sincerity resonated. Cam stepped in, supportive. Rico wants division, chaos, but Dipset's stronger than one mistake. We face our past openly, together. Chrissy added softly, please don't let Rico manipulate our family. Mistakes don't define us, growth does. Slowly. Fans rallied supportively. Hashtags shifted to hashtag stand with Jim and hashtag DIPSET strong. Rico watched, furious his plan backfired. His ally called angrily, demanding explanations. You promised they'd crumble. Rico snapped defensively. They're more resilient than expected. Meanwhile, Jim felt relief flood through him. Honesty had worked. Chrissy smiled reassuringly, squeezing his hand. Cam nodded approvingly. For a moment, the trio felt hopeful, united. Yet their relief was short-lived. Jim's phone vibrated again, another unknown number. The message was brief but chilling. Honesty won't save you. The final blow is coming, and you won't survive it. Jim stared silently, fear resurfacing. Chrissy glanced anxiously at Cam, realizing the war was far from over. Rico was still dangerous, and whoever backed him intended to escalate. Cam spoke. Firmly, voice tense with resolve, Rico's desperate. He's losing. Whoever's behind him, they're about to get reckless. We need to prepare. Jim nodded gravely, understanding clearly. They want a war wheel. Give it to them. Just then, an unexpected knock rattled Jim's apartment door, startling everyone. Cautiously, Jim approached, heart racing. He opened the door slowly, revealing someone he never expected to face from their past. A new arrival that would change everything. The door swung open slowly, revealing a face Jim never anticipated seeing again. Standing there was Olivia, someone from deep in their past, someone whose very presence triggered memories of past betrayals and unresolved pain. Jim stared, momentarily speechless. Chrissy gasped softly, her hand flying to her mouth. Camron's jaw tightened instantly. Olivia? Jim finally managed, his voice thick with suspicion. What are you doing here? Olivia stepped inside cautiously, her expression troubled yet earnest. Jim, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't urgent. I know everything that's going down with Rico, and trust me, it's even worse than you think. Cam narrowed his eyes. Distrust clear. How can we trust anything you say? You've lied to us before? Lydia's eyes flashed briefly with hurt, but she held firm. I deserve your skepticism. Made mistakes, big ones. But this is different. Rico isn't just out for revenge. Someone else is guiding him. Someone with real power. Someone who wants Dipset gone permanently. Chrissy stepped forward hesitantly. Then tell us, Olivia. Who is it? Olivia sighed deeply, clearly battling internal conflicts. It's Donovan Banks. The name landed heavily, sucking air from the room. Donovan Banks was a powerful industry executive known for ruthless tactics. He had always disliked Dipset, blaming them for disrupting his business ventures. Jim felt dread pooling in his stomach. Banks, he's the one behind Rico. Olivia nodded gravely. Rico's just his puppet. Banks funded everything, the leaks, the attacks. He wants to ruin your careers, break your trust, turn your fans against you. He sees your influence as a threat to his power. Jim sank onto the couch, head spinning with disbelief. Cam paced restlessly, fury radiating from every tense move. Olivia stepped closer, determined, because I brought proof. She reached into her bag, pulling out a small flash drive. This contains conversations, emails, and payment records proving everything Banks' involvement, Rico's payments. All of it. This is your ammunition to fight back. Jim's heart pounded anxiously as he took the drive, realizing its significance. This changes everything. Camron exhaled, tension easing slightly. If this is real, we finally have leverage. Olivia nodded earnestly. Use it wisely. Banks won't back down easily. Meanwhile, across town, Rico paced anxiously. His phone buzzed repeatedly, Banks' anger evident through furious texts. Banks' latest message read clearly, "Finish. Them tonight or you're finished." Rico's desperation grew rapidly. He needed one last devastating attack, something that couldn't fail. His eyes landed on an old photo, memories sparking inspiration. He smiled coldly, deciding quickly, "Sorry, Jim, Cam, Chrissy, this is the end." Back at Jim's apartment, tensions gradually shifted toward action. Jim inserted Olivia's drive into his laptop, files loading rapidly. The evidence was undeniable, Banks' name prominently displayed. "Money trails clear," Chrissy whispered. Softly, relief in her voice. "Finally, we can end this nightmare." Camron leaned closer, determination returning. "Banks underestimated us. We release this publicly. Expose him." Jim hesitated, worry flickering. "Banks will retaliate. Hard. We're stepping into dangerous territory." Olivia spoke firmly, reassuring. "You've survived worse. Your fans stood by you before they'll rally again." Honesty wins. Before they could plan further, Jim's phone buzzed again, Rico's number displayed clearly. Jim answered cautiously, voice cold. "What now, Rico?" Rico's voice trembled, slightly desperation bleeding through. "Jim, I know Banks betrayed me. He's leaving me exposed. I'm done playing his game." Jim's brows furrowed skeptically. "Why should we trust anything you say?" Rico hesitated briefly before admitting, "Because Banks just set me up to take the fall. I've got nothing left to lose. I'll give you Banks, but you gotta protect me." Camron scoffed loudly, anger evident. "Protect you? After everything you've done?" Rico sighed heavily, defeated. "Without me, you'll never catch Banks off guard. I'm your only shot at stopping him for good." Chrissy spoke gently, appealing to Jim and Cam's logic. "Rico knows Banks best. He's desperate enough to help us now." Jim hesitated, conflicted deeply. "Fine, Rico, but double-cross us, and there's no second chances." Rico agreed instantly, voice relieved. "Deal. Meet me at my place in an hour. Bring whatever evidence you have. We end this tonight." As Rico disconnected, Camron shook his head. "We better hope this isn't another setup." Olivia's voice turned serious. "Be careful, Banks is always 10 steps ahead." An hour later, Jim, Chrissy, Cam, and Olivia stood cautiously outside Rico's apartment. The door opened slowly, Rico's face pale but determined. "Get in quickly." Banks has eyes everywhere. Inside, Rico immediately began spilling details, Banks' private meetings, secret accounts, the extent of his manipulation. Jim recorded everything, determined to expose Banks publicly. Rico provided encrypted files, documents directly implicating Banks. Suddenly, Rico's phone rang urgently. He paled instantly, answering nervously. Banks' voice erupted angrily, audible even from a distance. "You think you can betray me, Rico? I'll bury you with Dipset." Rico's voice shook fearfully. "Banks, listen." Banks interrupted coldly. "No, you listen. It's already done. Police are en route to evidence planted, implicating all of you in criminal conspiracies. Dipset ends tonight." Rico hung up, panic flooding his expression. He framed us, all of us. "We've got minutes before police arrive." Seize. Eyes widened anxiously. "What do we do?" Jim took a deep breath, clarity amid chaos. We fight back immediately. Leak everything we have now. Show the world bank's manipulation. Camron nodded fiercely. It's our only chance. They uploaded the files quickly, sharing everything on social media. Moments later, evidence spread rapidly online. Banks. Crimes fully exposed. Fans erupted in outrage against Banks, supporting Dipset passionately. Outside, sirens blared closer. Tension peaked rapidly. Rico looked pleadingly at Jim. You promised protection. Banks won't let me survive prison? Jim exhaled deeply, conflicted again. We'll ensure your safety, but you're facing consequences for your role. Rico nodded defeatedly, accepting responsibility. As police arrived, Jim confronted them calmly, providing proof against Banks. Initially skeptical, officers quickly verified files, realizing they'd been manipulated by Banks. As news spread rapidly, Banks was arrested swiftly, public outrage overwhelming. Fans rallied behind Dipset stronger than ever. Headlines screamed, Dipset vindicated, Banks exposed. Yet, even amid victory, Jim felt unease lingering. Banks' threats haunted him. This victory might be temporary. Chrissy sensed his tension, squeezing his hand reassuringly. We won today. Tomorrow's problems wait until tomorrow. Cam nodded solemnly. Together, we'll face anything Banks throws. Just as they started breathing relief, Jim's phone buzzed again, a chilling anonymous message. You won tonight, but at what cost? Banks wasn't alone. Your real enemy remains hidden. They're watching. Fear returned swiftly. The victory tainted instantly. Olivia whispered softly, voice shaking, this isn't over yet. The message chilled Jim to his core, the phone feeling suddenly heavy in his hand. Chrissy noticed immediately, her face pale with concern. Jim, what does it say? Who's behind this now? Jim showed them silently, the words stark and menacing. You won tonight, but at what cost? Banks wasn't alone. Your real enemy remains hidden, and they're watching. Camron swore under his breath, frustration evident. Just when we think it's over, something worse pops up. Rico, handcuffed nearby, looked genuinely fearful. Banks mentioned someone else, someone above him. I thought he was bluffing. At Jim's voice turned sharp with urgency. Who? We need names. Rico? Rico shook his head nervously. Banks never said names, just called them the boss. Someone influential, untouchable. Banks was scared. Cam exchanged worried glances with Jim and Chrissy. Olivia stepped closer, anxiety clear. If Banks feared this person, we're dealing with real power. Dangerous power. Outside news of Banks' arrest dominated headlines. Fans celebrated, praising Dipset for surviving relentless attacks. Yet beneath the surface, tension remained. The cryptic message lingered ominously. Moments later, social media erupted. Again, shocking allegations surfaced anonymously, implicating Dipset members in fabricated scandals. Old texts manipulated, doctored photos spread rapidly. The attempt at character assassination was ruthless and calculated. Chrissy watched, devastated. They're destroying our credibility. Jim's phone exploded with accusations from fans. Disbelief and shock widespread. Cam swore angrily. It's all lies. How do we stop this? Olivia spoke urgently. Trace the source, prove it's fake immediately. Rico, sensing redemption, offered swiftly. Let me help. I recognize these tactics. Banks contacts someone's, using his resources. They rapidly traced sources, tracking anonymous uploads. Jim exposed everything publicly again, showing clear evidence, manipulated images, altered messages. Fans swiftly turned, condemning the anonymous attacks. The enemy, desperate now, escalated dramatically. A chilling final call came through directly, threatening their families. Stop now, or your loved ones pay. Chrissy gasped, eyes wide. With panic, Jim felt fury rise instantly, voice deadly calm. Touch our families, and it's war. Cam, equally enraged, agreed fiercely. Cross that line and you'll regret it forever. The enemy's voice faltered momentarily, sensing genuine retaliation. We hold leverage, Jim interrupted firmly. No, you hold fear. We're done playing. Reveal yourself, coward. The voice paused, then abruptly disconnected, silence deafening. Tension hung thickly. Chrissy whispered nervously, "Did we scare them off?" Jim shook his head gravely. "They'll regroup, but we bought time." Rapidly, Jim arranged increased. Security for their families, urgency paramount. Meanwhile, fans rallied protectively around Dipset. Outraged threats escalated so drastically. Public sympathy soared. Dipset's resilience praised universally. Yet, despite support, Jim knew peace remained fragile. The unknown enemy still lurked dangerously. Late that night, Jim's phone buzzed again. Bracing himself, he checked this message different. "You impressed us. Your defiance commands respect. Perhaps negotiation benefits everyone." Chrissy? Read anxiously. "Are they backing down?" Cam exhaled slowly. "Maybe they realize we won't surrender." Jim hesitated briefly before replying firmly. "Meet face to face, no games, no threats. End this now." Unexpectedly, they agreed instantly, setting a private meeting urgently. The trio prepared anxiously, unsure if they faced resolution or further danger. Hours later, arriving at the discreet location, tension escalated rapidly. The building stood abandoned, eerie silence amplifying dread. Inside, footsteps echoed. Someone approached slowly. Face obscured initially, finally stepping into light, revealing a familiar figure at Novan Banks. Released abruptly, visibly subdued yet calculating. Jim felt rage surge instantly. "Banks, this was you again." Banks shook his head calmly. "No, Jim, I'm here to warn you. They played us both. My arrest was orchestrated. I was their scapegoat." Chrissy whispered nervously. "Who's they?" Banks hesitated briefly, voice heavy with fear. "Powerful industry figures, more ruthless than me. They manipulate careers, destroy lives. I'm disposable to them. Dipset threatens their control." Jim stared intently. "Names, Banks. We need names." Banks glanced nervously, finally whispering an industry titan, Marcus Reed. Everyone's blood ran cold. Reed controlled enormous influence's reach, terrifyingly vast. "Reed?" Cam murmured anxiously. "He's untouchable." Banks nodded. Gravely. "Reed orchestrated everything. Destroying Dipset protects his interests. You've threatened powerful people, Jim." Jim stood resolutely, despite dread. "We expose Reed publicly." Banks shook his head anxiously. "He'll crush you swiftly." Chrissy spoke firmly, courage renewed. "He already tried and failed. Repeatedly, Dipset survives because we fight together." Banks looked skeptically. "Reed controls everything: media, power, money." Jim smiled faintly, confident despite exhaustion. He underestimated loyalty. "Our fans, our family, will fight alongside us." Banks paused thoughtfully, finally conceding. "Perhaps you're right, but confronting Reed openly risks everything." Jim stood defiantly. "We risked everything already. Dipset lives because we face threats directly." Outside, dawn broke slowly, signaling new beginnings. Dipset's resilience had triumphed repeatedly, yet Jim knew Reed posed unprecedented danger. Their fight wasn't finished, was just beginning. Cam spoke quietly, resolute. "Reed won't back down." Jim nodded determinedly. "Neither will we. Whatever it takes, we'll protect Dipset." Chrissy squeezed his hand gently, smiling confidently. Together, we're unstoppable. The sun rose over the city, painting the sky with new beginnings. But the battle was far from over. Jim, Camron, and Chrissy stood united, their resilience tested but never broken. The truth had finally emerged. Marcus Reed, an industry titan, whose power reached unimaginable depths, was the real mastermind behind every attack on Dipset. Yet, despite the threat, they chose courage over fear, unity over division. Fans everywhere watched closely, inspired by the trio's unwavering strength. Support poured in, overwhelming and passionate, signaling clearly that loyalty and honesty triumphed over manipulation and deceit. Dipset had survived betrayal, public scandal, and powerful hidden enemies, but their toughest fight still lay ahead. Reed wouldn't stop, and neither would Dipset. As headlines flashed and speculation ran wild, fans were left wondering what's next for Jim, Chrissy, and Cam. Will Marcus Reed retaliate? Can Dipset overcome such an influential adversary and emerge stronger than ever? Or will this be their ultimate downfall? Now, it's your turn to join the conversation. Whose side are you on in this epic battle? Dipset's unwavering loyalty or Reed's ruthless power? Can Jim, Chrissy, and Cam truly survive this relentless storm? Do you believe their unity is strong enough to defeat someone as powerful as Marcus Reed? Comment below with your thoughts right now. We want to hear from you. If you stand with Dipset, hit that like button and subscribe immediately for exclusive updates. Make sure you turn on notifications because the story's not over yet. You won't believe what comes next. Stay tuned, because Dipset's fight for truth and survival has only just begun, and you're not going to want to miss a single explosive moment.